Good evening, boys and girls. I just listened to the latest album by Muscadine Muscadine Bloodline. I covered them way back when with Overshore on the channel, and apart from that one breakup song we discussed, they were really an afterthought because a lot of their music was really just safe. They're kind of like a country version of Dan and Shay. I didn't hate them, but I wasn't actively enjoying their music apart from a couple standouts. And I really think this came from the neutral sound the duo provided along with their not so memorable vocals. But they released an album and I need something to listen to after the horrid mess of Walker Hayes. My soul is broken and Dustin Lynch is on the way, so I'll take anything I can get. I'm starving for quality content. So Dispatch to 16th Avenue as a whole is pretty good. That's about it. Not to degrade the work they accomplished, as this is the most I've enjoyed a project from them and there's a lot of passion behind it, I just think a lot of the album's strengths weren't really utilized to the best of their capabilities. Like the songs dealing with Southern culture, which, no surprise, are my favorite on the album. They go so deep into the joys that can be found in Southern culture, and the duo's delivery being a warm vibe, making the songs feel like home in a sense. This really happens on Southern and most of the songs afterward. They're incredibly gentle and have strong writing to back them up. In those aspects, it's a massive step up from their previous work in a considerable amount of ways. Zatoll and Dying for a Living tie into each other greatly and makes the transition between the two really strong, which leads me into how this album is a constant progression and every song sets up the next one musically. I always enjoy when albums do this, as I find it neat, as in a sense the entire album can be interpreted as one large collective piece, but there's a catch with this album. When this kind of stuff occurs, I usually want to see a story behind it, or a way it progresses the themes of the album, and this record doesn't really do that. Apart from Zatoll and Dying for a Living, there's just not really any connective tissue with the tracks that lead for a reason for these progressions being there in the first place. I mean, I'd rather have them be here than not be here, so I can't really complain that much. The album opens up with what is easily my least favorite track, so I like knocking down Nashville the Corporation, it makes my day. But even I gotta admit, at this rate, all these songs making fun of or calling out the country aspects of the place are getting kinda old. Pandering by Bo Burnham really opened the way for modern criticism, and it's still super funny and interesting, and I listen to it constantly. But in hindsight, with all these songs that capture this, what is it even saying that hasn't already been said? The impact of the message itself is rendered kinda worthless. Plus, the whole concept of the song is just a lamer version of Murder on Music Row. The song's decent, but it's one I'm not keen to revisit whenever I put this album on. The breakup songs themselves aren't that memorable either. In these moments, you kind of realize they're going back into their old habits with these safe, not really memorable breakup songs you've seen 1,000 times and are pretty unoriginal. Dead on Arrival was surprisingly forgettable given the fact it's a freaking murder ballad. I love those, but I can't say this did much for me. And I'd also add Hung Up on You in this lane of songs I don't have much of a critical problem with. They just don't pique my interest. The way the album opens up is really a false start, but don't worry, the album gets better, trust me. Like I said previously, Southern is where the album finally begins to get going and really take shape. This song takes a more nuanced jab at the stereotypical trends associated with country, and they say from their perspective what Southern culture is, highlighting the simple beauties like foreshadowing hymns you gotta learn on Sunday, love for Cannonball Run and John Wayne, and dreams of making it in the world. Even this theme actually enhances some of the breakup songs better in the toll and trying to overcome physical challenges and emotional anguish getting it done. Dying for a Living is just so much fun and gets into the more rowdy nature of the album and even a bit of the pettiness as well. No Pedal Steel is definitely my favorite track on the album, or at least it would be if it wasn't for the clickbait title. There is pedal steel throughout the song. What kind of bullshit is that? 0 out of 10, worst song of the year. But in all honesty, it's where the delivery shines the most. Probably the most it ever has. How this one instrument usually used for positive environments in country music can wear and tear a man down. It's grounded, very emotional, just an all-around great song. But best lyrics go to the final song, Down in Alabama, due to the fact they got Brent Cobb to write the song. His lyrical touch of scenery heightened this song and make it stand out far greater than anything else on the project. This is right up his alley. Oh, lay me down in Alabama, maybe somewhere around Mobile, where the hands of time have been left behind like a dusty cotton field. It's just so good and kind of makes the rest of the album look lesser in comparison. Only reason it's not my favorite song on the album is the odd musical choices in the back half of the song, but that's about it. Overall, this album is a solid package. Production was surprisingly good given how they're not represented by anyone anymore. There's a really nice balanced experience even in the more rowdy moments. I could rag on the songwriting not being the best in the world, but I don't want this review to be too long. The album's strengths chances are all recognized as some of the best of the year, but the album does lose focus on said strengths in place for some music chances are I'll forget by next week. The breakup aspects aren't the most fleshed out or well defined, but its focus on family and scenery really is where this record thrives and goes beyond any of their previous work. I enjoyed myself quite a bit with this record. Not the most memorable release in the world, but there's a lot of fun and enjoyment to be had. Decent 7 out of 10. Ooh boy, I wonder what album I get to review next. Oh no.